What's going on, Land Rover community? My name is Taylor. I wanted to do this hopefully quick tutorial on how to rebuild a power steering pump for a Land Rover Discovery 2. There's not quite a lot of explanation on this online, so I thought this would be really helpful for Land Rover owners who enjoy doing a lot of, DIY work rather than taking their truck to the shop all the time. This is what I enjoy doing, and I thought I'd just run through it really quick. So this is it completely disassembled. I thought of the idea of doing this tutorial when I already took it all apart. So I'm fortunate enough to actually pull this off of a parts rover that I have sitting in my front yard while I'm still able to drive my my rover that I'm, needing to replace the pump on. So I'm essentially just going to swap my pump that's busted with this rebuild that I'm doing right here. So this is the whole pump disassembled here. I just wanted to run through it kind of start to finish on putting it back together, and hopefully this will help you guys out with kind of doing it on your own as well. So let's get started. So these two pieces here are the housing of the unit itself. This is what's called the back plate, and this is essentially where the most common leak is on the whole entire pump, is this gasket that goes right here. And the pump essentially goes back together like so. So this is kind of like the bare unit when all the pieces are out of it. And you'll notice that this is where the pulley is attached to, and as I'm spinning this, the inside shaft is rotating, and that's how the pump operates, is when the belt turns the pulley around, it then moves all the components inside the pump. So first thing that you're going to want to do, I'm doing a complete rebuild here. I replaced the ball bearing that's inside the unit here. There's a ball bearing which is what I ended up replacing it with is this guy right here. Wow, it just fell into my power steering fluid. Right on. Anyway, this is a giant, what looks like a giant skateboard ball bearing, essentially. And this is the brand that I ended up going with, is SKF. And I'll put the link, maybe the link or just the type of the number of the bearing that you're going to need that'll fit exactly into this shaft. So the number is this here, 6302-2RS1/C3. So I think I got this for about $7.50 on eBay with free shipping, and I'm way out here in Hawaii. And so I was fortunate to get free shipping on this little guy, and the gasket set that I ended up going with as well. So yeah, let's get going here. So anyway, what I did first is I took this housing into a shop, because you're gonna need a press if you want to replace the front seal and the bearing that's in the front here. And if you're leaking, because this unit was actually leaking, and I could tell because there's fluid all along the rim right here coming out of the seam. So I knew that my front seal, which is actually this guy right here, was leaking, and you can tell, see the crack right there? There's like this weird sort of coil that runs along the side there. And that's how it was leaking, as you can see the rip in the seal. So if you're needing to replace the seal, if you don't have a press at home, you're gonna have to take this to a shop. So what they're gonna do is you're gonna tell them to press this shaft out, which will, essentially just bring this whole piece out. And there's gonna be the ball bearing on this side and the seal, which is this piece, on the housing unit. So you're gonna need to have them press both of those in, and then have them put it back together. An important note is you need to keep the spacing here between the pulley, rotating unit on the outside and the housing itself, this space right here, which I measured it out, which is a little less than 2 millimeters of thickness or spacing there. You're gonna need them to keep that same distance, which, any ordinary shop is gonna know to do that. It's just common sense, but I don't know, just to play it safe, I just reminded my shop to be sure to do that, because they didn't work on foreign cars and yada yada. So I just didn't want anything to go wrong. Hopefully nothing does go wrong still yet, but anyway, take this to a shop, get it pressed out. I paid, I think, $85 in labor just to get the new bearing in and the new seal. Again, which are these two units right here. So let's, I'll show you the seal, the resealing kit that I bought. I also got this off of eBay. This is super cheap. I found one as low as $22. This is the brand and the, you know, model number and all that. If you can take a look at that. I think they go upwards up to about $40, or I think I even saw a legit Land Rover resealing kit for like $90, which is ridiculous. You might as well just buy a rebuild and have someone else do it for you at that point. But, and another side note is you can get away with, I think Rock Auto gives you the option of sending in your old power steering pump, and there's this company that'll completely rebuild it for you, and I think it's $100. And I was so tempted to do that, but I really wanted to do this video for you guys, and I just like to know how things work on my vehicle so that I can then explain it to somebody else in future events, or, you know, I just want to know the ins and outs of how my Discovery 2 operates. So that's the main reason why I wanted to do this. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty, and I'm hoping this will help you guys kind of get through it as well. So anyway, let's just start putting this back together. I've been kind of yapping a lot. One thing that I think is crucial is you got to keep things organized and also photo document how things are put together when you're taking them apart. So if you're needing to take all of this apart to then, you know, do exactly what I'm about to show you, just do these steps in reverse order and you're going to get the exact same final outcome as this that I'm showing you. So let's go ahead and do this, okay? All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and swap out this O-ring off of the high pressure line fitting that goes into the side of the pump here. What I noticed is that this original O-ring, I don't know if this is how it is on your guys's, but notice how flat it is, and you can see a little bit of marring on the, I guess this almost feels like it's plastic and not rubber like a traditional O-ring. But let's go ahead and take the two O-rings out of this kit. So this kit that I bought has two different sizes. One is a little thicker in diameter than the other, and one is also a bigger size, like probably by 1 millimeter or 2 than the other as well. So what I'm gonna do right now is just kind of match this one up to each one of these. I know one of these fits that's why. The kind of conundrum that I'm faced with right now, and I posted it in the forums, is I don't know where the other O-ring goes. So I'm thinking it goes on this the gearbox side of the high pressure line, maybe. I don't really know. I absolutely took everything apart, and I can't find another O-ring that goes into the power steering pump unit itself. So let's just go ahead and match this up. I think it's this guy right here, but just to be certain, let's try the other one as well. Actually, you know what, is this one. This one's slightly bigger than this skinnier guy as well, and it kind of makes sense because this is skinnier in you know, diameter of the actual like ring itself, which makes sense to kind of replace the flatness of the original. So let's go ahead and slap this on. Actually, that might not be right because, see how there's like some play right there in the actual groove of the bolt? Let me try and fit the other one on and see. Come on. How this one fits. Yeah, this one fits way better. So I think I'm gonna just rock this one on here. See how much tighter that is? no space, it doesn't have any play. Bear in mind, this is the high pressure you know, component of the pump, so you're gonna want to get this right, because if something goes wrong, I don't want to know what happens if this thing will actually bust and maybe you know, spit this out possibly. That's another thing, is I don't know the torque value of this. I haven't looked in the RAV yet, but anyway, so that's the O-ring that goes on that. So let's get this guy and the other one out of the way. So then you have this unit, which has a spring that goes on the end just like this, and it springs, and you're gonna wanna, let's see, put this in like so, and it's, you know, springing inside there, and then just go ahead and put this back on and start screwing it in. Also, this bolt head size is 22 millimeters. So I've got my, my hands are dirty, let's get those off. I've got a 22 socket here. So what I'm noticing already is the O-ring is really tight against the inside there. So I'm just gonna try and like put it down here. And if it's not gonna go, then I might swap it out for the other O-ring. Yeah, it seems to be quite tight, so granted I don't have like a ratchet attached to this, but let me go ahead and try the other O-ring and see what happens. Can actually get it off. It's this guy right here. Let's see how that fits. Yeah, it's a lot better. I don't know, I'm a little hesitant on that. I might have to do more research. Again, like there's 2 O-rings in this set. I think it comes in every set of the resealing kit, and I don't know which O-ring goes where, because like I said, I don't know where the other one goes. So let's just go ahead and leave it at that. It's nice and smooth. I don't know the torque value. You're gonna want to find that out. I'll find out later and post it in the description below. But anyway, there's that part of the rebuild. Oh, another thing is you're gonna want to make sure this spring is nice and, you know, free flowing down in there. I think I have a, yeah, I've got like a tiny screwdriver here. So just make sure that it's moving there. There's a little slot right here, see that? So you can stick like a little tiny screwdriver, or I don't know, Allen wrench or something. Just make sure it's like springing back and it's not stuck on anything inside the chamber there. All right, on to the important stuff, right? Okay, so I kind of mapped it out here. Hold on, I need a swig. Highly recommend a beverage of choice as you're doing this. It makes it more pleasant. All right, so I mapped it out to as it goes in here. So from right to left is how it's going to go back into the pump. So first things first, this is called the 3-hole gasket as it's commonly used online. So let's go ahead and grab that out of our little gasket goodie bag here. Okay, another thing you're gonna want to note is on all of these pieces, you're gonna notice this little like notch out right here, little tiny notch out of all the pieces. And the reason for that is you're gonna be putting, nope, yeah. You're gonna be putting this little pin inside. If the pump is faced like so, you're gonna be putting the pin in the upper left corner. So actually, I'm gonna turn this around because I like working with it like this, because I have all my pieces already mapped out like so. So you're gonna want to put the pin, if the pump is faced like this, you'll see two sort of slots in the lower right and left hand corner. You're gonna put it in the lower right corner, but we're not gonna do that quite yet until we put a few of these in. So let's go ahead and do that. I think this is the new one. I kind of lost track, I'm pretty positive. So let's go ahead and put this in. It's just gonna sit right in there just like so. All right, first things first, done. Let's get this guy out of the way. And next is gonna be this sort of like plate that goes in on top of the 3-hole gasket. Again, you'll see the little notch out there. If the pump is facing like so, it's gonna go in the lower right. So that one drops in like so. So these are actually starting to like freely spin around here, so it might be actually a good idea to put this pin in already. So just find the holes, and there you go. It's nice and snug inside the lower right hand hole there with the pin. Just leave it there. Be careful of this, because I actually thought this was a part of the housing until it sort of fell out on me, and I was afraid. At first I didn't know what fell out, and you don't want to lose this guy, so be sure to keep an eye on this guy and like pull it out, organize it in your cups, whatever you want to do to keep yourself organized. Anyway, so there's the little pin in there. Next, you're gonna want to put this sort of like gear looking thing. It's kind of cool, actually. Feels cool, like it's a pretty badass piece of like fabricated metal. You're gonna want to put this guy in next. Let's see, I don't really think this, okay, yeah. So again, you'll notice two different sides to this guy. See that little like dimple inside the face of it there? On the other side, you're not gonna see that. You'll still see, of course, this little cutout of the main inner circle, but you won't see that same dimple that's on this side. And this is the side that faces up. At least, you know, this is how mine was. I photo documented everything, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put that on. It slides right on. So when I was first taking this apart, and see it now, it's spinning. When I was first taking this thing apart, I thought this gear piece was actually attached to the shaft, and I didn't think that it was going to be able to slide over that because the clearance there is so tight. I thought it was one unit. So just grab a piece of needle nose pliers and just carefully grab the edge of one of these teeth that are sticking off, and it'll just slide right off. Just kind of like finesse it off, and it'll slide right off of the shaft there. Alright, so that guy's on there. Next would be this sort of odd looking oblong shaped, it's not even an oval, it's just like a messed up shape. It kind of tripped me out when I first took it out because I thought it was completely circular, but it's not. See how weird that is? So again, you'll see that little notch, and that's gonna go over that pin. So just kind of match it up with the, and it's like surprising that it actually like fits on there. Boom, just slides right in. So now this ring, the weird shaped ring that just slid in there, is going to be able to hold all of the rollers that are going to be sliding into all of these slots. I think there's, I freaking forget how much, I don't know. I want to say 16, but it doesn't look like there's 16 there. Who cares? Who knows? Just count them up, don't lose them, and just start sliding these guys in to those little slots in the teeth there. My hands are a little slippery. Alright, thank God I didn't lose any. So see that? Now they're all happy, snug in their little bunks, just spinning around like crazy little rot, you know, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so there's those. It's looking pretty clean now. I think on another little side note here, I took a piece of fine sandpaper, you'll notice that when you take this apart, the original gasket, if you have anything left, is super, super paper thin with like yellow sort of Play-Doh look to it. It looks like this. A new one looks like this. So see how it's plastic paper on one side and then this sort of weird like crayon yellow Play-Doh on the other? You're gonna find little remnants of that from your old gasket. So to clean that up, I just took some 400 or 600 grit super fine sandpaper and just kind of like level this out a little bit and just run your finger across and make sure that it's all smooth and there's nothing that's gonna get in the way of having a tight seal once you put the seal back on, or the gasket back on. Okay, so the last piece would then be this guy here. Kind of looks like a little like spaceship. So this guy, again, has a little notch out. All the pieces have that notch. Lower right hand corner, just kind of fit this guy on. If he doesn't slide on, that's why I had this little cup of power steering fluid here to act as a little bit of lubrication. Just go ahead and put, mine's still a little, you know, wet from the previous fluid that was in here, so this guy's like sliding on pretty easily, but you might have some trouble with all these pieces, as a matter of fact, kind of sticking onto the shaft there. So just kind of lube it up with a little power steering fluid and it'll just slide right on. Okay, so there's the final piece. Then the gasket, I believe the Play-Doh side faces down, so it's pretty easy. All you got to do is just line up the holes. It looks pretty good like that. And then the back plate just goes right on like so. And I'm not gonna actually put my hex bolts back in because I don't have a bit that's able to fit my torque wrench to actually torque these down quite yet. But you're gonna want to torque these guys down to, I believe, 10 or 12 pounds. Not very much at all. Like probably the lowest setting on any torque wrench, I think, is about 10. So you're gonna want to be careful with this because too loose, of course, you know, it's not gonna squeeze it together. It's gonna leak. But if it's too much, say above 15 pounds, you're gonna squash that gasket, this gasket here, right to oblivion again, and you're gonna have the exact same leak. So again, I can't stress enough on important torque values, and with these guys, I would say it's safe to do about, just meet in the middle at, say, 12, like 10 or 12. You should be good. And I just wanted to add that I think the original, when this comes from the Land Rover factory, they put Locktite, blue Locktite, on these hex bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that again just to make sure that it stays at that 10 to 12 pound torque range and it won't get any tighter, it won't get any looser, and hopefully you'll have a power steering pump that lasts you, you know, another 100,000 miles or what have you. That's about it, guys. I really hope this helps you out. I did tons of research before I kind of dove into this myself. There's really nothing to it. It's kind of one of the most easy jobs, in my opinion, after really kind of understanding all the components. One final thing is I also bought a new low pressure hose that goes to the reservoir. These things are super cheap on Rock Auto as well. I think I got this for 12 bucks. And it comes with new worm clamps, and it's a brand new hose. I've got two hoses off of my Rover, of course, that I'm working on, and then my parts Rover that they look in pretty good shape, so this is the third one. But I just didn't want to mess around. If I'm going to the extent of doing this job, 12 bucks is 12 bucks. Just get yourself a new hose, and you're not going to regret it because you won't. That's not going to be an issue if something happens later on down the line because you have a new hose. So anyway, guys. Actually, shoot, you know what? I forgot one thing, guys. One super, super important thing, and your pump will not run without this. There's a little dowel. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot this. there's a little dowel that sits inside. Let's just take this apart real quick. Sorry about this, guys, but this is super important. Let's see if I can get this out without getting some needle nose. Actually, let's just turn this. Upside down. All right, sweet. Look at that. It all just popped right out. So let's just set this aside again. Sorry about this, guys, but this is really important. So, I can't believe I forgot this. See that little divot in the shaft down there? That's where this little dowel piece sits. And it's gonna want to look like this, where it's tapered on both ends. I've seen guys that have this that's completely flattened for some reason. And if that's the case, I don't think, obviously, they sell this piece separately. It's pretty custom. So you're gonna need to get a whole new pump if this piece is messed up. So you're gonna want it to look exactly like this. How about I just toss it up like this? So this piece sits right inside that groove there. See that? It's just chilling in there now. Can't believe I forgot that. I'm super glad I remembered. Anyway, so that sits like that. And now let's put this back together. So we got the gasket, we got the plate, we got the pin to pin this all down. And then we've got the gear looking thingy with the dimple facing up. Just pop that in. You got the weird oval shaped retainer, I suppose, for these rollers. Pop the rollers in. Oh, shoot. Bam, bam, bam. Rollers are in. And then this guy just sits on top. And then you have it. So, and then gasket with Play-Doh down. Yeah, this way. And then cover on top like so. And then you got your hex screws or bolts, whatever, that go in the four corners here. 12 pounds torque, Locktite, and you're freaking good to go, guys. Thanks a lot for bearing with me on that. This is my first tutorial. I don't really do YouTube, but I thought this was kind of essential for all the, you know, home mechanics, especially for Land Rovers. I've fallen in love with my truck. I love working on it. This is just another project because mine's been whining and groaning at me for a couple months now. And I'm sick and tired of burning through power steering fluid. The second piece to this, which is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to doing it, is there's this other thread on Land Rover forums, and it's a sticky for a power steering flush, and it looks amazing with the product that the guy uses. I highly recommend doing that. That's what I'm going to be doing with this new rebuilt pump now, and I can't wait to feel what the steering is like and just having the satisfaction and peace of mind knowing that I did a badass job of just completely flushing the system. I've got a new pump, I've got a new hose, and I'm going to feel pretty stoked about it at the end of this all. So that's about it, guys. I don't really care if you like or comment or subscribe or whatever. Again, I don't really do YouTube, so I just thought this would be handy for all you guys wanting to do this yourself. Again, this is what I wanted to do because I wanted to know how this thing works and just get my hands on the pieces involved. You can get these things rebuilt. Like I said, on Rock Auto, there's a company that'll do it for you, And they'll even I think they'll sandblast this thing and repaint it for you and stuff on the outside. It's kind of crazy, but I think it's $100, and you pay for shipping, I believe. And it's like a 5-day turnaround time, and you can pay $100 to get even a little bit better of a rebuild than what I just showed you. Other than that, you can get, you know, other not brand new, but just, you know, other rebuilds from other companies. I think it ranges from about $150 to like upwards of, you know, crazy amounts, up of $500 sometimes for rebuilt power steering pumps. So in total, this cost me about $115 with the labor involved in pressing the shaft out with the new bearing and the new front seal. That's $85 right there for the shop that I went with. They were able to do it in a day's time, pretty quick turnaround. And then it was $22 for the gasket kit, this guy here. And then it was another, I think, $12 for this rain reservoir low pressure power steering hose. So that's it, guys. $115. You can do it yourself. It's an easy job. How I got the pump off of my parts rover is I took a look at the Atlantic British Academy video on how to get this thing out of your truck in the first place. It's not a hard job. Probably requires a handful of tools, a couple sockets and whatnot. Really easy, and once you do it, you'll kind of like remember how to do it again, and yeah, it's really knowledgeable stuff. So yeah, hope this helped. I know I said that a bunch of times, and yeah, enjoy. Hopefully this you can leave your frustrations in your rear view mirror as you're driving your new power steering pump in your Rover down the highway. So all right, guys, thanks a lot. Peace out from Kauai.